You're listening to the Remote Explorers podcast, a show that allows you to connect, learn, and be inspired by the stories of people who have used the power of remote work to have unconventional experiences in their lives. The podcast is hosted by Mayur and SHAHZADA, who are experienced and equally curious remote workers.
Welcome back to another episode of the Remote Explorers podcast. Our guest for today is Shruti Chaturvedi. Shruti is the founder of Chai Pani, a progressive media platform built on the ethos of constructive journalism. She started her company when she was 22, which now has a subscriber base of 2 million and a team of 40 people who are all working remotely. She has won several awards such as Karamveer Global Fellowship, Build India Award, and many more. She's a multi-TEDx speaker and she was also selected as LinkedIn India's top 25 voices in 2019. In today's episode, we will be talking to Shruti about her journey of moving to Goa from Mumbai. We talk about how people should manage their mental health while working during these hard times of a pandemic. We discuss how remote work can help bridge the gender gap. She talks about her approach to using social media, and Shruti tells us on how important it is in India to create quality content in regional languages. Hi, welcome to Remote Explorers. This is me, Shahzada.
This is me, Mayur.
Hi, Mayur. Hi, Shahzada. Hi, it's so exciting to be here, man. Before you ask me how was your day, how you feeling?
We are excited to hear about your remote work story and your experience of moving to Goa and living in Goa. So, why don't you tell us and the listeners about it?
All right. So it's been a year and a half. I moved to Goa. I started out my company in Ahmedabad. अहमदाबाद से आई मूव टू गुड़गांव क्योंकि अहमदाबाद में जब छोटे शहर में होते हो तो आपको लगता है कि बड़े शहर में जाओगे बड़ी कंपनी बनाओगे एंड आई वाज टू डन इन माय आई थिंक छोटा वो मेंढक का जो कुआ होता है उससे so I had to go out somewhere and this one day I was in Gurgaon at a friend's place and she said I'm looking for a flatmate and I was like okay I'll become your flatmate and that's how I moved to Gurgaon. Gurgaon में एक साल रही वहाँ पे I built businesses, I built my contacts. I had to get out of Ahmedabad very importantly. So I think Gurgaon helped that way. And from Gurgaon I moved to Bombay because one it was closer home and second city of dreams and all those stories that we told. So yes, I moved to Bombay a year and a half, 2 years in Bombay and वो फिर धीरे धीरे आपको पता लगने लगता है कि what a burden you are to the city and how unimportant it is most of the times. So एक हमको ना बहुत narrative एक तो spirit of Bombay वाला पेचा गया है which indeed is not wrong at all. I love Bombay, but at the same time when you realize that how we are burdening the city more than necessary और जो एक दूसरे एक नैरेटिव है कि बड़े शहर में जाओगे तभी आपका बिजनेस बड़ा होगा बड़े शहर में जाओगे तभी आपके बड़े कॉन्टैक्ट्स होंगे और ये सारा चीज होगा तो आई थिंक दैट्स हाउ आई वाज इन बॉम्बे बट आई थिंक a year and a half down the line all of my team members like most of them were from outside Bombay everybody had moved from smaller towns and smaller cities और सबके लिए it starts becoming unbearable after a point so I think that started happening तो वो internal revolution शुरू हो गया था कि बॉम्बे से बाहर निकलना है टीम मेंबर्स के अंदर मुझे कुछ आइडिया नहीं था तब तक कि ऐसा कुछ होने वाला है and this one day all of us were sitting and we were chilling together after work and one of the members brought it up saying that I want to go back to Baroda and then the other one was like okay I also want to go back to Indore somebody was like I want to go back to Ajmer and फिर पता चला is because one living quality of life was horrible for most of them आपका 2 घंटे ट्रैवल करना 2 घंटे वापस जाना and no matter how much as a company you end up paying सारा आपका लिविंग कॉस्ट में आधा तो उसमें ही चला जाता है सो आपका सेविंग्स कुछ नहीं होता है द एयर इज सो बैड द वाटर इज नॉट दैट ग्रेट एंड आई थिंक वी वर आल्सो एट सम पॉइंट गिल्टी ऑफ मेकिंग दैट सिटी व्हाट इट इज तो वहां पे हमने सोचा कि चलो ठीक है मोस्ट ऑफ आवर वर्क हैपेंस ऑन द इंटरनेट बॉम्बे जाने से पहले लगता था कि बॉम्बे में जाओगे देन यू विल बी इन द सर्कल देन यू विल बी इन द सर्किट यू विल बी नोन बाय पीपल आपके कॉन्टैक्ट्स उधर होंगे बट 1.5 year down the line we figured that बॉम्बे में भी एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाने में आप एक हफ्ते पहले प्लान करना शुरू करते हो कि आज इससे मिलने जाना है क्योंकि इवन दैट्स अ बिग टास्क एंड आई थिंक this has happened 3-4 years back when I realized कि रोज मिलना ना लोगों से जरूरी नहीं है. जो चीज ईमेल पे बात हो सकती है उसकी बात ईमेल पे कर लो, जो चीज आप वीडियो कॉल पे बात कर सकते हो आप वीडियो कॉल पे कर दो. इट इज एन अननेसेसरी वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, स्पेशली व्हेन यू आर इन अ बिग सिटी जहाँ आपको 2 घंटा तो कहीं जाने में ही लग जाता है, तो आपका पूरा दिन उसमें खत्म हो जाता है. सो दैट इज व्हेन वी रियलाइज्ड कि हाँ, अगर हम महीने में इफ वी आर डूइंग से 15 मीटिंग्स और 20 मीटिंग्स, can we do this when we come here, like say once in a while, once in a month or twice in a month, if we can come and finish all of that, and everything else can work virtually because Chai Pani is a virtual company. So we were looking somewhere in Navi Mumbai, Thane, Vashi, because we wanted to go in the outskirts, शहर से जितना दूर जा सकते हैं, but and this is during the same week when I was coming to Goa to attend a conference, and this is when I was just sitting and I was just whining. Or Goa में ना एक बहुत ही non VIP culture है where the ministers are also all chilling with you, they are also going around. So at that time there was IT, Revenue and Labor Minister of Goa who was just taking a round around when I was just sitting and whining, one of those कंगना रनौत सीन्स फ्रॉम क्वीन जिसमें वो बस रो रही है कि मैं कहाँ फंस गई हूँ, क्या हो गया है. And this person is just walking by and then he's like, okay, if you're so troubled with Bombay, why don't you move to Goa? And at that point I didn't have a reply. I was like, ऐसे थोड़ी ना shift कर सकते हैं. And but if you objectively look at it, there was no reason for me to not move out of Bombay. And yeah, so the seed was planted then. एक दिन बाद मैं अपने घर वापस गई बॉम्बे. आई मेट माई टीम मेंबर्स, आई टोल्ड देम ओके ऐसा एक रैंडम वाइल्ड आइडिया आया है, लेट्स मूव टू गोवा. एंड सरप्राइजिंगली एवरीबडी वाज ऑन बोर्ड. सबका लीज खत्म होने वाला था, घर के रेंट का लॉक इन पीरियड खत्म होने वाला था, वेरी फॉर्चुनेटली. And the next thing we did was we moved out of Bombay, and this whole thing happened within a week. So a week later, I was in Goa. I was looking for houses. I knew exactly one person when I moved to Goa, and like compared to Bombay, where I had an entire social circle of mine, where I had a huge network of every type. So I had like we all have like multiple friends for multiple things, and in Goa, I just knew one person, and I was like, okay, just let me stay at your place for a bit till I find a house. And I think I found a house in a couple of days. घर गई वापस से, मम्मी को बुलाया पैकिंग वैकिंग करने के लिए. We packed and we moved to Goa.
You followed your intuition, and I agree with a lot of things that you said about Bombay. I started my career from there, and initially बहुत मजा आता था. It was like the dream come true, right? सुबह लोकल में जाना, भीड़ में लोगों को धक्के मारना. But then over the time you get burnt out in that city, right? It's the best city ever to start your career with.
Absolutely.
But after a while, I think it gives you the energy, it gives you the optimism, it gives you that spirit to go get it. But then
It
after a
makes
while,
you
it becomes a burden.
Yeah, it makes you very resilient also. I think अगर आप बॉम्बे में सर्वाइव कर गए, स्पेशली अगर गरीबी में आप सर्वाइव कर गए बॉम्बे में, तो आप कहीं भी किसी भी सिचुएशन में सर्वाइव कर सकते हो.
मैंने अपनी so I was doing my university from Mumbai, और मैं so I'm born and brought up in a town called हिसार, हरियाणा.
Okay.
सो मैं वहीं पे रहा 18 साल ज़िंदगी के. तो 19 साल की उम्र में मेरा एडमिशन हो गया अच्छे कॉलेज में, तो घर वालों ने बोला ठीक है जी जाओ. सो द डे आई रीच मुंबई, द वे आई आइडेंटिफाइड बाय माई सेल्फ, वो पूरी आइडेंटिटी छीन ली गई मुझसे. यू नो आई हैड दिस सच अ बिग कल्चरल शॉक बड़े शहर में आके. सो इट टुक मी अ वाइल टू एडजस्ट विद, क्योंकि एक तो यू नो यू आर वेरी वल्नरेबल व्हेन यू आर यंग, व्हेन यू आर 19 ईयर ओल्ड, आप यू आर ट्राइंग टू फिट इन. But when I look back in hindsight, I think those 3 years were the best years of my life, because it took me really down and showed me the ground reality of how life works.
No, and absolutely. I think Bombay mein, the most interesting thing was everybody is so welcoming. Like everybody knows your struggle. I think everybody empathizes with your struggle because everyone has been through that at some or the other point. And moving into Bombay was not that difficult for me at all because I think I knew a few people already because aana jana laga rehta tha. And people were so welcoming right from my neighbors to my housing society association and everyone ke aapko ye chahiye, aapko wo chahiye. And I think doing business also, like the way you learn doing business from Bombay, I think it's incomparable. Like the ethics of doing business, the speed of doing business. And I think this was a big decision for us to move out of Bombay because आपको लगता है अगर आप बॉम्बे से छूट गए तो आप पीछे रह जाओगे और ये एक डर आपको बॉम्बे में हमेशा लगा रहता है कि आपसे हर कोई आगे निकल रहा है कि अगर मैं रात को सो भी रही हूँ तो मुझे लग रहा है कि अभी मैं सो रही हूँ बट अभी मुझसे ज्यादा कोई मेहनत कर रहा है और कोई आगे निकल रहा है मुझसे सो बॉम्बे छोड़ने का एक बहुत बड़ा फियर लोगों को ये भी होता है बड़े शहरों को छोड़ने का यूजुअली ये फियर होता है दैट लोग भूल जाएंगे मुझे मेरी पहचान खत्म हो जाएगी बट इतने बड़े शहर में इतने लोगों के बीच में आपकी पहचान बन भी नहीं पाती है बहुत मुश्किल होता है उसको बनाना भी एंड you just keep pretending to be somebody else in different circles and different circuits just to fit in but Bombay is spectacular but not for me.
Yeah. So it's been 1.5 years now. So
Yeah.
is that fear still there? कि भाई
Not
बॉम्बे से
anymore,
दूर
not
होना
at all, not at all, not at all. But yeah, when I moved in, at least for the first 6 months, वो एक fear था कि and that's why till the first 6 months I did not tell people that I moved to Goa because I didn't want to be somebody कि हाँ जिसने किया और वापस चली गई because I was still not sure. But 6 महीने के बाद में I remember I wrote a Twitter thread. Telling people that now it's been 6 months I did something wild like this. But वो 6 महीने वो एक आपको रहता है that you know हम my clients will forget me, my clients will think अरे बॉम्बे आ गए हैं सुसे घाट में चल रहा है काम इनका प्लस बोलना लोगों को ना कि बॉम्बे बेस्ड कंपनी है वर्सेस सेइंग गोवा बेस्ड कंपनी है बहुत फर्क पड़ता है so but I think and because of that fear we never left our roots from Bombay like even today like our marketing sales people still sit in Bombay I am here like when there was no lockdown I would still go to Bombay once every month once in a while but एक वो fear तो था 6 महीने के बाद में then I realized कि it's nonsense it's baseless nonsense in fact I end up more networking with more people more high value people more relevant people to me in Goa because everybody comes to vacation in Goa and when they come to vacation they know they have to meet this one person which is me and they'll end up meeting me and we'll end up having very good quality time where I don't have to take their appointments.
Everybody is working from home right now. People have a lot of anxiety, people have a lot of fears, you know, a lot of people are facing pay cuts, people are facing higher targets on in their jobs and then there's this world anxiety jo pure vishwa mein chal rahi hai. What would you recommend people who are working from home or people who have started going to offices now, how do they deal with their mental health during this time?
See, I think working from home, there are some people who would enjoy, but practically for everybody in our country, it is really stressful. Like हम बोलते हैं कि अरे आपको ऑफिस नहीं जाना, आपको स्ट्रेस नहीं है, लाइफ अच्छा है. But imagine living with one set of family the entire day. You might have children, you might have pets, you might have your husband, you might have your wife, and to constantly be there, right? और आपका now there is no thin line जो पहले होता था professional personal life के बीच में अब वो thin line भी नहीं है. So I think one thing that I would suggest because I've been working remotely for the longest time now, even and I think I was the kind of person who would always prefer working by myself, and I do not do bullshit meetings. So if it is extremely important, is when we will have a meeting. Other than that, सब अपना अपना काम करो, अपनी अपनी जगह से काम करो. It makes more sense. But for a lot of my team members, क्योंकि घर से बाहर निकलना एक बहुत बड़ा escape होता है लोगों के लिए कि हमारी mundane life को छोड़कर हम घर से बाहर निकल रहे हैं. और जब वो एकदम से आपको बंद कर दिया आपको वही चार दीवारियों के अंदर रख दिया एटलीस्ट चलो गोवा में इफ आई एम लॉकडाउन इट्स ब्यूटीफुल टू बी लॉकडाउन हियर but in bigger towns in bigger cities it's stressful so I think one thing that I would recommend is do something other than your work like that's something that I've been doing always like there is some or the other course that I'm always taking up like I'm learning how to code now so मतलब काम खत्म होने के बाद में there is something to look forward to and another thing is like have one thing like a routine I think routine is very powerful a ritual is very powerful that way so if for example मेरा शाम का ritual है no matter what I will make myself a cup of tea and I will watch the sunset no matter what and whichever part of the country I am शाम को 6 बजे का ये मेरा ritual है and I will do that and that is something that I've not missed so वो एक आपको it brings me to a center so even if I'm feeling lonely or even if I'm feeling anxiety, it gives me time to sit down and process it. मतलब most of the times आप घर और काम में इतने लगे रहते हो आप process भी नहीं कर पाते हो that you are having a problem and it just keeps getting more deep rooted inside. So I think that and third, I cannot stress enough going for therapy. Like if you can find affordable therapy, I think therapy has kept me going from my time in Bombay till now. And I think as an entrepreneur or as somebody who's just working, it's extremely important. It's very underrated, but very important.
Shruti, tell us a little about how are you managing your team? So is everybody remote right now, or do you still have employees back in Goa with you who you meet and work with?
Everyone's remote. Most of them have gone back home, so they're working from their hometowns because it didn't make sense to pay rent for a place when you're just working from home. So जो लोग जा सकते हैं वो चले गए अपने घर पे. And so we have a very set infrastructure because when we moved to Goa also, because we had 40 people, half of them working in Bombay, half of them working in Goa. Tabhi we had to have a very strong remote infrastructure. So right from tracking and everything, so we have a good combination of Slack and Notion. That's where we've been since years now, and so our tasks are pretty well maintained. We are all tracked. Our HR has been very, like, our HR is no more with us, but like she had a very strong process of tracking performance, finding if there are any flaws here and there. So वो करते रहते हैं. Second, we have we once in a week, like I will talk to every single person of the team, one to one, and once in a week everybody gets together online. So that has been something, and we don't talk work when we get online, all of us. So like one meeting in a week is where we don't talk work. We just talk about everything in the world. But one to one, because I think it was still manageable with a 40 people team, where I make it a point that every person gets to talk to me once in a week directly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think having a humanized connection with every employee is really important for
Absolutely.
an employer. Yeah. So that brings me to my next question, Shruti. So when I was going through your profile, I saw that you've interned with ISEC, right?
Yeah.
When you were pretty young, and I also saw the time you started Chai Pani. It was you brought a lot of underprivileged stories out. You
Hmm.
became the voice for people who did not have a voice, did not have a platform to share their stories. So, what is the factor that made you that person to bring out those underprivileged stories? Is it your parental upbringing, the sense of empathy brought by your parents, or is it because of the different work that you have done while you were a teenage?
I think it has a lot to do with the upbringing. I'm pretty sure because we were not always so rich. Like this is a story I tell everybody.
Yeah.
Like we have grown together as a family. Like when I was born, probably we were not that rich, but ऐसा भी overnight पैसा भी नहीं आ गया. But we've all grown together, and now we are at a very privileged position. But we've been in a place where if I was a child or school में elocution competition होता था, तो वो elocution competition के लिए कपड़े पड़ोसी के पहनते थे. I was always
Acha.
first in the speech competitions. Any speech debate competitions, I was always there and I've always won. So, but हाँ उनके लिए भी like even today I have photos where I have हमारे पड़ोस के अंकल का जीन्स पहना हुआ है उसको सिलाई लगा दिया मम्मी ने लगा लगा के. So you know when you come from that space, it's not about even empathizing. You just know what that life is like, and you don't see that you are a वो savior complex नहीं है मुझे कि अरे मैंने इनकी कहानी बोल दी तो मैंने इनकी जिंदगी बदल दी. It's just a story like any other story that needs to be told. And if I find it fascinating, like Chai Pani का first story where how it started was मेरे college के पीछे गणपति बनाते थे. ये गणेश चतुर्थी वगैरह के लिए दुर्गा पूजा के टाइम पे, so they were वो sculptures बनाते थे. And I was just passing by and I just found it so fascinating. I just sat down to understand what the process is like. और वो प्रोसेस पता करते करते पता चला like it's an entire MBA degree in itself, like how they source the material, how they make it, what is their timeline like, वो कब से अपना backward integration शुरू करते हैं कि जब तक season आएगा तब वो कैसे पैसे बनाएंगे. And it was that fascinating and I wrote a story about it on a simple Facebook page that I had made. And I didn't write it because अरे मुझे दया आ गया उनके ऊपर या अरे बहुत गरीब है poverty porn हो रहा है तो आप स्टोरी बोल दो. It was just because it was fascinating. And I think if you have certain curiosity, it helps.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like working with causes, so we've been associated with a lot of causes. Personally, I have been volunteering, I have been donating very actively. तो एक तो उसका cause I think ये भी है कि it comes from a very strong place of anger and disappointment, and it's my coping mechanism. जब मुझे कुछ ऐसा दिखता है कि I can't do anything, अगर Amazon के forest में fire हो रहा है, it makes me angry here sitting here, but I can't do anything about it. Uh, and इतना helpless वो feel कराता है. So my coping mechanism is I will donate somewhere which is working on a similar cause in my country. preferably in my state, or I will start volunteering. So I volunteer 10 hours of my month, doing something or the other. I'm good with writing, I'm good with making graphics, I'm good with videos, I'm good with audio, voiceovers के लिए. So I've started volunteering with people for that. डोनेशंस के लिए भी मतलब ऐसा पापा ने बोला है कि शास्त्रों में बोला है, वो कौन से शास्त्र है पता नहीं, बट शास्त्रों में बोला है कि 10% आपका चैरिटी में जाना चाहिए, आपका इनकम. सो आई स्टिल हैव दैट रूल दैट एवरी मंथ वट एवर माई इनकम बी, 10% goes in charity. And these are certain charities that I strongly know कि हाँ accountable है, और उनकी monthly accountability आप track भी कर सकते हो. So that's how we've always been with Chai Pani. Also, Chai Pani started because people donated. Like Chai Pani was started with people's money. It is a people's project. I still tell everybody. पैसे नहीं थे तब start करने के लिए, and I just went out telling people on a crowdfunding campaign that I want to start something and please give me money. And right from my house help who gave 100 rupees to somebody who gave 50,000 rupees, not knowing me at all, it started with people's money. So it's a people's project. So it's just fair to give it back.
Shruti, you work a lot with underprivileged people, and now we are in this remote work movement. So, do you think that remote work is a great equalizer?
हाँ, I think equalizer, पता नहीं मुझे, but I think what it does is it's democratized a lot of things. मतलब पहले बहुत ही privileged लोगों की jobs हुआ करती थी कुछ, कि अगर आप बॉम्बे में रहना afford कर सकते हो तो आप काम करोगे. Internships for that matter, right? Like 1,000-2,000 रुपए में जब आप बॉम्बे में किसी को internship करने बुलाते हो, it is a given point के somebody is paying for their stay, somebody is paying for their food, because 2,000 में कोई खाना नहीं खा सकता है. But with something remote, you know कि हाँ 2,000 रुपए में आप जहाँ पे हो, आप अगर अपने मम्मी पापा के साथ रह रहे हो, you're living with your spouse, you're living with whoever, you can still intern. So it's democratized that way, because छोटे शहरों के लोगों के पास, especially जिनके पास privilege नहीं था कि कोई पहचान वाला बॉम्बे में या दिल्ली में है या बैंगलोर में है, वो लोग बहुत पीछे रह जाते थे इन अपॉर्चुनिटीज से. सो आई थिंक व्हाट रिपोर्ट वर्क हैज डन इज गिवन अपॉर्चुनिटीज टू एवरीबडी, नो मैटर वेयर यू आर. लाइक आज से 1 साल पहले, बिफोर कोरोना वायरस, there have been so many instances, like so many women who would have asked like this big corporates for jobs कि हम work from home काम करेंगे, and people would have said no. But after like the coronavirus ने impose कर दिया कि अब आपको घर से ही काम करना है, and that is when everybody is opening up to a reality that okay, those women could have worked from home, we could have given them those opportunities. So I think पहले हम या तो करना नहीं चाहते थे, या तो we always wanted somebody to be in that disadvantaged position, but now there is no excuse to deny.
Yeah. So interestingly, time and again in our discussion, this small town thing is coming. And so we recorded our first episode with Abhash, who is also from a small town in Jharkhand. Then the second episode was done with Akshay, who is also from a small town, Hubli. And me and SHAHZADA both are from small towns. So we relate to these stories a lot. When you talk about small town stories, we relate quite a lot. So, another question, I think you talked a little about it, but do you think remote work will help bridge gender gap in our country?
Absolutely. Again, like I said, जो हम opportunities पहले deny कर देते थे for no logical reason at all. Now it is just professional to not deny anymore. मतलब now it's अभी आप legally deny नहीं कर सकते उन चीजों को कि हाँ मैं घर से काम करना चाहती हूँ. So I think gender gap बहुत बहुत बड़ा, like it's been an issue, and it's always been somehow where we have exploited a certain gender, but especially remote working and giving opportunity irrespective of कहाँ से आप काम कर रहे हो, will definitely be a huge advantage for a lot of women.
Yeah, I think through remote working, anybody can get the best education, because as the education would get more towards e-learning, and people like somebody sitting in a small village in Rajasthan can apply in a job in California. That's how beautiful that is, right? How nice it is, because that has really bring down the bridges which were keeping the underprivileged to reach those heights, right?
Absolutely. Like to be somebody from a small town and have an opportunity in a bigger town, We have all read those stories where या तो कोई आपका पहचान वाला होगा जो आपको 1 महीने के लिए जगह दे देगा, or you will end up staying in really shabby places. But now it's not required anymore.
Yeah, पहले तो all the big actors, they've had the stories of sleeping in railway station, bus
हाँ.
station. So वो अब खत्म हो जाएगा.
You know, it is so sad. I tell my parents some days कि अगर मुझे गरीबी में बड़ा किया होता आपने, तो मेरे पास में एक rags to riches story होती. अब मेरे पास rags to riches story नहीं है कुछ बोलने के लिए.
Middle class to upper middle class.
Yeah. And that's not that fascinating. Clickbait नहीं होता है.
So Shruti, so you are in the top 25 voices of LinkedIn in India. So my question to you is, I was going through your Twitter, I was going through your LinkedIn, and I found out that you just speak your heart out. You just say what you want to say. You do not try to sugarcoat it ke politically theek lage, the field that I work in, there are so many people who would critique you for what you are saying. So kya uska secret kya hai, and what is the recommendation that you would give to people, how they could be honest, and how important it is to be honest while you're presenting yourself on social media?
I mean, I think if I can't be honest on social media, there's no point of being on social media. मतलब मैं अपना इतना free content क्यों दूँ if I can't even speak my heart out? So I think I don't think so much. Like बचपन में मेरे को सब बोलते थे इसका ड्राफ्ट फोल्डर नहीं है इसके पास में, इसके मुंह में कोई ड्राफ्ट फोल्डर नहीं है, एंड एंड अब वो सोशल मीडिया में सही में कोई ड्राफ्ट फोल्डर नहीं है. समटाइम्स आई end up getting into trouble. Sometimes I end up getting threats to a level where
कोई ट्रबल के बारे में बताओ यार.
So Bombay, okay, like last week of me in Bombay, where I was going to move from Bombay to Goa, and I don't know what was it. It was one of the videos where I spoke about reservations. Yeah, and I spoke something, and somehow they found my address of the house, and apparently somebody said they got it from the registrar's office. But the next day, I had a bouquet in the on the door of my house with a letter saying we know your address. And I woke up, and the next day I woke up, and I saw my email, 2,500 emails from random email IDs saying this is your address, we know your address, we're going to rape you, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It was crazy, okay, and I freaked out, and I told my parents about it, and my father was like, हाँ तो होटल में जाके रह ले कहीं पे. And I think because now my parents have also like इतना उनका desensitization हो गया, they're like हाँ like we will help you if you need it, but वो savior syndrome नहीं है कि अरे मैं आके बचाऊंगा तुझे या मैं आके बचाऊंगी. But my dad did not tell my mother, I guess, but he was like, yeah, book yourself a Taj or something nearby and go and stay there. और फिर एक हफ्ते बाद तो वैसे भी तू जा ही रही है. But this was really scary, right? When you know that somebody could end up on your doorstep anytime in a place like Bombay, which is supposed to be so safe. So yes, I keep getting into troubles here and there, but nothing worth not saying what I want to say. And I don't try to curate my life on social media. मतलब वो है जैसा है क्योंकि we have enough of people who we call influencers trying to show you the world that doesn't exist, trying to live a life which is not practical to live. हर एक की life इतना Instagrammable होती नहीं है हमारी. And nobody shows you what is behind the scene of taking that photo or that particular video. So I think it's pretty honest, and I think I would not relate with somebody who is not being honest. So I wouldn't even be dishonest on my social media or try to filter things that I'm saying or curate what I'm saying. And it's worked so far. So that's my suggestion to everyone: be honest, because it eventually works out.
But yeah, social media is not a mirror, is not a transparent platform जो एक इंसान है अब उसके बारे में exactly वैसा जान सको. क्यों कहीं ना कहीं बायस तो हमारे अंदर है ही ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर मैं आज इफ आई फील रियली गुड, आई मेट 10 of my best school friends, I might post about it. But if I'm crying today and missing somebody, I'm missing my ex-girlfriend, और मैं आज I'm not feeling really good, I might not share it, not because I don't want to be true to myself, but वो एक कहीं ना कहीं you tend to see just the happy moments of a person on social media. But उससे क्या होता है कि so a lot of kids who use social media check out influencers page, influencers like you who are not like Instagram influencers, but like people who share their voices, share their opinions. So they tend to think कि ये हमारी life ऐसी होनी चाहिए और ऐसी है नहीं, and they tend to compare it their own life with the other. So how कैसे वो बच्चे कैसे deal करें इस चीज को?
I think, see, उनका mistake नहीं है, because it is obvious, right? Like, even when you are an entrepreneur and when you are starting up and you see news of everybody raising funds here and there, everyone's getting richer, having fancier offices, self-doubt kicks in, and self-doubt at every point is going to stay, and we should not deny it, right? Like, it's something that you work upon, but you do not deny it. You cannot even blame those influencers, because they're, I don't know, it's their personal choice if they're making a living out of it, about their curated lives. Personally, for me, I would not curate my life, or like be something else on social media than what I am in my general life, because I'm also the person who meets people outside social media. Like, I'm very social, very outgoing generally. So I wouldn't want to be a person who is something different on social media. Or फिर मिलकर लोगों को लगे अरे ये तो कोई और ही है. But I will agree that, sometimes in our entire competition of being woke, हम लिखते theory में हम कुछ और होते हैं, but बहुत ही, we're all flawed, right? Even I will accept that I'm very flawed. Like, if I'm writing on social media that don't hoard things, but if you come to my house, you will find my entire cupboard full of different snacks and chakra and all of those things. So I think हो जाती है सारी चीजें. We are all flawed at a certain level. But I think the solution is to fix your problem with self-doubt, is to accept the life that you have. Influencers, definitely, I will say that, okay, it's preferable if you do not curate your life and show things that are unachievable. But at the same time, I think as a consumer of social media, it is normal, it is fine to compare your life. I think there is, इतना तो कोई संत नहीं होता है कि अपनी लाइफ किसी से कंपेयर नहीं करता. It is not possible. You will end up doing that, but at the same time, you need to know mechanisms, coping mechanisms, on how do you not make you feel upset. Because ये चीज सोशल मीडिया से पहले भी थी, राइट? मतलब हमारे पड़ोसी ने गाड़ी लेकर आ गया, इसने घर ले लिया. We have always compared social media or not social media. This is how our yardsticks have moved. So I think the solution is, working on what you want in your life, how are you going there.
पहले ये होता था पड़ोसी के शर्मा जी ने गाड़ी ले ली. अब you meet शर्मा जी from मुंबई लाइफ में एक बार, and then he's added on your Facebook. So 5 साल बाद उसने गाड़ी ली तो fuck, उसने गाड़ी ले ली.
Yes.
तो एक बार हम मिले थे. So the vortex of our comparison with other people has increased multifold, and that is just the real manifestation of a real life and in the digital world, what social media is.
Yeah, so I think when you feel lonely, how should you be using social media? Should you be using it to be honest, express your feelings, or should you reach out to people you can trust?
I think social media has been a great place for me. I think social media is where I actually got the confidence कि हाँ मुझे English आती है. मतलब इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल में आप पढ़ते हो, बट आप इंग्लिश बोलने वाले आपके आसपास लोग नहीं होते हैं. सोशल मीडिया पर जब आप इंग्लिश में बात करते हो लोगों से, यू बिकम कॉन्फिडेंट दैट ओके आई एम आल्सो कूल इनफ. जब ऑर्कुट पे स्टेटसेस डालने शुरू किए थे, इट गिव्स यू दैट सेंस ऑफ बीइंग कूल इनफ, एंड आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट सोशल मीडिया हैज डन टू मी. आई हैव मेट द बेस्ट ऑफ द पीपल I have today on social media. I've made best of my friends on social media, best of my clients on social media for me. But I think loneliness is it's very different, especially now, like we're working from home. Social media par bhi, if you're a content consumer and not an active participant, right? Social media gives you a space जहाँ पे आप सिर्फ status updates देख रहे हो, Instagram stories देख रहे हो, या आपकी Instagram stories बता रहे हो, but you're not talking to anybody really. Like, you're not telling your heart out to people. You're not having a more meaningful, empathetic conversation. So as long as you're not doing that, it is very apparent on social media. #couple goals देखकर आपको भी loneliness feel होगा कहीं ना कहीं कि अरे हमारी life में ऐसे friend goals और couple goals क्यों नहीं हो रहे हैं. But again, I think it boils down to how we develop our coping mechanisms, because these problems on social media, especially social media contributing to growing loneliness, is beyond control. कि हम उसे control नहीं कर सकते, तो हम खुद को control कर सकते हैं. We can hone ourselves in a way that these things do not impact us negatively. Personally, right? And I think this is what social media has done to so many people, and I always keep getting so irritated कि मैं आपके बाजू में बैठी हूँ, and you're not talking to me, and you're on your social media and you're just checking your timeline and everything, and when I'm not close to you, you're looking at my timeline and checking it out. why are we doing this? मैं अभी तो आपके बाजू में बैठी हूँ ना, तो अभी बात कर लो मुझसे. And I think that's what social media does, and it's so addictive. And I think that's how the product has been built with so many engineers and product managers, that it just keeps you glued. And most of the times it's very unwillingly. Even I will say I'm a culprit. I'm guilty that even I've fallen for it. But I think eventually it boils down to how many meaning conversations are you having directly with people around you.
Coming to conversations, you have this initiative called Sham Ki Chai, where you bring in a lot of strangers together and make them talk to each other, or they talk to each other, open up. So, can you tell us a bit more about Sham Ki Chai?
So Sham Ki Chai, it started in October, and something similar happening to me, right? Goa mein thi, and I have so many friends and so many people, and the way I'm talking to you guys right now, right? How many people do you have in your lives? How you can talk these meaningful things with somebody, like even giving answers that you've not thought about yourself. So Sham Ki Chai started because I wanted to meet more people, and then I realized that okay, अगर मैं lonely feel कर रही हूँ despite having so many friends around me, so many people who are concerned about me, there would be more people like me, especially people who are leaving their hometowns to go for work, to go for job. They're leaving their families behind, they're leaving their friends behind, their entire circles behind. And apparently, so I did a small Google form survey asking people about how they feel about it, and it turned out everybody feels that everybody has a certain void, a certain level of loneliness in their lives. And that's how Sham Ki Chai started, where I started going from one city to another. Every weekend I would be on another city. And the concept was very simple. सब अनजान लोग हैं, 40-50 लोग आएंगे. We will give you chai, we'll give you snacks and everything, and you have to come and talk, right? And so what happens at the Sham Ki Chai is we start with a lot of improv games. So you could be a really rich person, or you could be a student, or you could be you could be a 80-year-old, or you could be a 55, 60-year-old. Everybody comes together and we all play games. And I think what games do is they it's a great equalizer, right? Because everybody is being stupid. So now there is no demarcation that way. So after playing games, we pair people up. अब usually हम जैसे social setting में पहले हुआ करता था, right? कि if I know Mayur, and I'm like, okay, Mayur, I know somebody who I think you'd be interested in talking to, and I just connect you. So this is what we do at Sham Ki Chai, is where somebody comes, we read their profiles, and we're like, okay, I think you might want to talk to this person, and we pair them up. और चाय हम दे देते हैं. चाय के ऊपर you have to talk to that person for 20-25 minutes, preferably not about work. So you open up yourself. There are so many people who are so introverts and so awkward at the social interactions. So our team members, our volunteers are trained enough that you go from one place to another, one table to another table, facilitating all these conversations and making it comfortable. We help people with a few intimate questions. कि अगर आपकी शुरुआती इंटीमेट क्वेश्चन से होती है तो कन्वर्सेशन बहुत जल्दी फ्लो हो जाता है. सो बेसिकली द होल आइडिया ऑफ शाम की चाय वाज टू ब्रिंग पीपल टुगेदर, स्पेशली आपके नेबरहुड्स में, आपके खुद के शहर में आपके दोस्त होने चाहिए, आपके खुद के शहर में आपका एक कम्युनिटी होना चाहिए. And that is how Sham Ki Chai started, and we've been doing it online now. We've been doing it with good 200-250 people every week, and it's been really interesting.
As you just mentioned about Sham Ki Chai, so I can see that you value the community essence in humans. You really value कि भाई हमारे पास ऐसे लोग होने चाहिए जिनके साथ हम unfiltered बात कर सकें. There should be people who we could just be ourselves. So but अब जैसे सब कुछ change हो गया है. There's so much paranoia around social gatherings, and I think it's going to prevail for some time. So at such a time, how do you see such a venture being? Are you planning to take it online?
We've already taken it online. In fact, from the first week of the lockdown, because I was on a 50-city tour, and I had done 11 cities, and 12th city के बाद में lockdown हो गया. So we from that weekend onwards, so we started doing it on Zoom. So everybody gets together on Zoom. Our improv artists who we partner with are well trained on how to make people play games on Zoom, and we are very cool different formats where we use spotlights and we use different features. So we play, and Zoom par hi, matlab, but before you register, you give us a very extensive profile of you, because now We don't have the privilege of like seeing a person and intuitively profiling them. So now, before they register, they tell us everything about themselves, as much as they can about themselves. Then we stalk them on social media to understand what their profile is like, what would they not like, and then we intuitively match people. So it's a matchmaking, I would say, a platform with not a very romantic angle to it. It's just friendships. It could be a one time conversation that you're looking to have with somebody, but the whole objective is ऐसी शाम को, मतलब अगर आपको चाय पीने के लिए कोई चाहिए, then there should be a person who you can share your chai with. Like nobody should be that lonely that they don't have anybody to have a chai with in the evening.
So when offline events open up, I would love to have that at Nomad Gav.
You should absolutely do that. It will be so much fun.
You do so many things. You are so active on social media. You run such a big brand called Chai Pani, and then you also make sure that you see the sunset every day. How do you manage all of that? How do you stay sane while doing all of this?
I think the key is to enjoy doing every single thing. And I think I've made that choice. I was privileged to have the opportunity to make those choices, to pick and choose what I want to do and what I don't want to do. So everything, like being on social media or being active on social media, is not a full-time job for me. It's not like I have to think about something before I write, or before I have to sit and plan my content and, oh, how is it going to look. I don't do those things, right? So social media for me is, right now I'm just sitting with you, I'm just cooking right now, and just something came up in my mind and I just wrote it. So it's that's spontaneous, so it does not take time. About sunsets, of course, like that's a ritual that I've made for myself, right? Having my sham ki chai and a sunset is a ritual for me. So that to happens no matter what, and that is something I force myself into, because some days, especially when you have depressive episodes, right? Like the most difficult part is to get out of the bed and just go out, because half the battle is won the moment you step out of your bed and step out of your room. So I think that is what watching the sunset has done to me. Great vitamin D के लिए कुछ तो time निकाल देना चाहिए. But it's not difficult, right? Everything I do with chai pani, at least I'm not that obsessive worker that I used to be, where I used to work 13, 14 hours a day, which was madness. It made no sense. Like honestly, I realized that I was really stupid if I was working 14 hours a day, uh, because I was not efficient enough. So I don't work for more than 5-6 hours a day. Most of the time तो मैं सोच ही रही होती हूँ. I think 80% of my time is just gone thinking about things, random things, and I just work for 20% of the time. वो 20% में मैं जितना सोचा होता है वो सब कर लेती हूँ. So I think मतलब it's not and no, I don't do everything every day. So my socializing is on different days. And I think I don't think so much about things. Oh, how am I going to manage my time? How am I going to schedule things? I don't make schedules at all now. The only schedules I would have is like say client meetings or something. Other than that, there is no schedule, because लॉकडाउन में अब लोगों को हो रहा है कि उनका स्लीप साइकिल खराब हो गया है. मेरा स्लीप साइकिल हमेशा से ऐसा था दैट आई वेक अप एट 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I work till like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I think I've always had that sort of body cycle. So I get time for my own things, and I wouldn't do something because it's cool to do. Like I would do it if I feel like doing it. So जिस दिन चाय पानी से मेरा इंटरेस्ट खत्म हो गया, I might stop doing it. So abhi ke liye it's very fascinating. Every day is a new challenge, new thing to do, and it gives me a lot of opportunities. So it's just fun. So it's not draining at all. None of the activities that I do is draining, except some admin work that I have to do. वो forcefully करना पड़ता है. Those are the days when I feel that, oh, how am I going to do everything? But other than that, every day it's not draining. Everything makes me feel more energetic.
Do you plan your year, or do you take one day at a time?
No, man. I planned my year in 2020 का beginning, and look what a massacre it's been. मतलब कोई पॉइंट ही नहीं था उस चीज का. एंड आई हैव सीन दिस थिंग, मतलब मैं कुछ भी प्लान करती हूँ ना, वो चीज नहीं होता. आई डोंट नो इफ इट गेट्स जिंक्स्ड और समथिंग. सो आई टेक वन डे एट अ टाइम, वन थिंग एट अ टाइम. मल्टीटास्किंग भी बंद कर दिया मैंने अब करना, बिकॉज आई रियलाइज आई एम वे मोर एफिशिएंट इफ आई एम डूइंग वन थिंग एट अ टाइम रादर देन मल्टीटास्किंग एंड डूइंग एवरीथिंग. बट आई डू नॉट प्लान थिंग्स एनी मोर. लाइक आई रिमेंबर जब मैं अपना फंड रेज कर रही थी और मैंने अपने प्लान में दिखाया था 20 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू बाय 2020. It is ridiculous. And I remember one of my investors had said, श्रुति ये कभी नहीं होने वाला है, एक्सेल शीट में ही होता ही है. And I was like, नहीं सर, ये कर लेंगे, वो कर लेंगे, ये कर लेंगे. And of course all my investors are also entrepreneurs, so they know how things work, and I'm pretty sure तब वो भी सोच रहे होंगे अरे बच्ची है इसको करने दो जो सोच रही है सोचने दो. And everybody must be having a good told you so moment right now. But see, I tried planning on an Excel sheet and it didn't work out. So I don't plan. I just take it how it comes.
So, Shruti, now that you have taken your company remote and you have this flexibility of working from anywhere, do you think you'll settle in Goa, or you want to travel and explore the world?
Absolutely, I'm settling in Goa. I'm done like going one city to another, and Goa is somewhere where I found my right fit. So this is something I told my parents also a few days back, क्योंकि उनको मैं झूठ बोलकर गोवा आई थी. मैंने उनको बोला था कि मैं 6-7 महीने के लिए प्रोजेक्ट पर गोवा जा रही हूँ. But actually I wanted to be in Goa, and so 5-6 months later मैं ये सिलेंडर के लिए अप्लाई कर रही थी. सो माई मदर वॉज लाइक कि वाई यू अप्लाइंग फॉर अ सिलेंडर, क्योंकि अब तो आपको वापस कहीं जाना होगा. And I said, no, I don't think I'm leaving Goa at all. So I even got my election card in Goa and everything. So I think Goa is, it's just the right fit. I cannot, I also, because I have a lot of things and I want like my space in my own way and things like that. So I cannot move very frequently, but I've been somebody who can work from anywhere. So you can put me anywhere and I can work from a train, I can work from a bus, from a plane, anywhere. So I think that is a privilege that I have, but home is Goa now for me.
So I was there for 2 months in January and February. I was traveling around, so I thought let's just stay in Goa for a few months. So now when I was here in the north for the last 3 months, I realized that Goa is my home as well. So as soon as the lockdown scenes open up, maybe Goa aa raha hu.
Amazing, amazing. A lot of, after I moved here and after I started writing on my social media about me moving to Goa, I have been responsible for around 20 families and 5 startups moving to Goa. So yeah, like a lot of people from bigger cities have moved, because I think people see a possibility, right? When somebody
Yeah.
does something, they're like, अरे यार इसने कर लिया तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. तो एक वो पॉसिबिलिटी ओपन हो जाती है जो हमने मेंटल ब्लॉक खुद के दिमाग में लगा दिया होता है कि अरे बड़ा
But I
शहर
read
कैसे
your
सोच सकते
story
हैं.
on Twitter, I guess. You recommended one of your friends to come to Goa and he was pissed off from you. Yeah.
I did not recommend that person. That person got inspired by my Twitter account about me writing about Goa. And then I realized, see, how I was curating
Yeah.
my life at some point and showing just the bright side of it. And I never told about the challenges that I face in Goa. And then this person's writing on my DMs, like, he's like, oh, you should have told me about this, that, and that. And I was like, you didn't ask me about it. But yeah, of course, like it's a little bit of a challenge. See, छोटे शहर में अगर आप आ रहे हो तो थोड़ी चीजें तो छोटे शहरों वाली होती है. And जैसे इंटरनेट हो गया, इंटरनेट and electricity being the most basic requirement, which I wish were sorted long back. And I remember meeting so many entrepreneurs from Goa, like Goan entrepreneurs who would complain कि हम लोग मोइरा में रहते हैं, हम इस गांव में रहते हैं, हम इस गांव में रहते हैं और यहाँ तो 2G भी नहीं आता है हमारे आज ढंग से. And I would be like, yeah, you're just making excuses. But eventually, if you actually see, the scene is pretty difficult here. And it's just like this few co-working spaces like Nomad Gaon, जहाँ पर internet connection अच्छा होता है. Like even today, if I have to make a really important client pitch or something, I would now come to a Nomad Gaon to do it, because I know कि internet अच्छा है यहाँ पे. मतलब I won't have to be worried about something. So I think ये challenges हैं, and I think we should be prepared about it. Living in Goa, like now I've learned कि हाँ जैसे monsoon आ गया तो monsoon में क्या problems आने वाली है, कहाँ पे नहीं रहना है, कहाँ पे रहना है, कहाँ जाना है, नहीं जाना है. So those things. So it's not as fancy as it's shown, but it's a great life. It's a great life compared to anywhere in the country.
But yeah, like there are pros and cons of living in any place
Yeah, yeah.
that you are in the world.
Yeah, and I think the Goa ka, the best part is you get peace. If you want to party, there's also a great party scene. So it's both the vibes here.
And there's a lot of art and culture.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of art. Yeah.
Very good circuit.
So what recommendation would you give to yourself 19-year-old?
Thinking good for other people. Think about yourself and don't take life too seriously at 19. At 19, at 90, don't take things too seriously.
Yeah. And would you also recommend to try a lot of things in life rather than being in one stream?
Absolutely.
Try a lot of things?
Curiosity is something that I have very consciously worked upon. to be curious about every single thing. I want to know how this works, how that works. So absolutely try everything, like journalists, like generalists is the way forward now on. So I keep trying like things unrelated. It's always about learning constantly, trying new things. You never know what you're going to be a good fit for. So when I left my engineering, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started doing multiple internships. So I've done 24 internships in total, which are not put on my LinkedIn, but I've done 24 internships in 12 different streams. So I've done internships in finance, I've done internships in HR, I've done in marketing, in sales, in accounts, everything to come to know what I'm good at. So because करोगे नहीं तो पता कैसे चलेगा कि आपको क्या पसंद है क्या नहीं पसंद है.
बिल्कुल.
So I think be curious, keep learning different things, related, unrelated. Now I meet people who want to make a hobby profession out of a hobby. Like what sort of capitalism is that? That आपको एक hobby भी आपका, people don't pick up hobbies that they don't think will eventually make money for them.
A lot of quality content that is available on the internet is right now in English, but slowly a lot of websites like, big news outlets, they are starting their own Hindi channels now. And Chai Pani has also, I think from the initial year itself, they've started putting stories both in Hindi and English. How important it is to produce content for Hindi readers. And do you think that a lot of new media agencies that open up, they usually focus on the English speaking audience? Do you think they need to change that and get over with the colonial hangover that our country is living with?
See, if you like your business to grow, you will start catering to an Hindi audience, to a regional audience, because see, eventually ये हो गया ना, लोग तुम्हारे लिए नहीं बदलेंगे, तुमको लोगों के हिसाब से बदलना पड़ेगा. Like your audience is not going to change. They love their content in their language. They love their content the way they would like to consume it. So you better start providing them in the language that they want. Especially, and I think when you start creating content for people with different geographies, with different language preferences, you also at some point shed the whole more than colonialism, I would say a lot of classism that is ingrained. Say for example, what a TikTok, right? Like we would cringe at it, oh my god, kya content hai, kya nahi hai. But if you think at it, it's democratized the entire country that way, right? In terms of expression, that today somebody from a village could create content and have millions of followers. Because classism nahi hai wahan par ki matlab everybody is a creator, right? Like you could have a fancy home, not have a fancy studio, you could be doing it at your job, but everybody is an equal creator at that point of time. So I think आप जब रीजनल कंटेंट बनाना शुरू करते हो तो आप बहुत ज्यादा आपके लिए जो चीजें आपको लगता है कि अरे ये तो कूल है, ये क्रिंज है, ये नहीं है, तो आपके ना वो सारे ब्लॉक्स खुल जाते हैं कि अरे नहीं, मतलब इस ऑडियंस को ये कंटेंट पसंद है और मुझे इस इंटेलेक्ट से इस कंटेंट को प्रोड्यूस करना है. एंड देन यू स्टार्ट थिंकिंग फ्रॉम अनदर पर्सन्स पर्सपेक्टिव ऑल्सो. So I think it's important for every business today to be to have regional, not just regional content, to have regional approach to your business also. I'll give you an example. ये तो हम language की बात कर रहे हैं. Something like a tea. So there's a recent conversation I had with the owner of a very big multinational tea company. इंडिया में ही सेड इंडिया इज सो डाइवर्स, सो डिफरेंट कि उनका जो चाय का ब्लेंड बनाते हैं वो लोग, वो भी हर शहर और हर तहसील के लिए अलग ब्लेंड बनता है, क्योंकि हर शहर का पानी अलग हो जाता है. एक शहर से दूसरे शहर जाते हो तो दूध का क्वालिटी चेंज हो जाता है. अगर आप गुजरात में जाओगे तो लोग भैंस का दूध ज्यादा यूज करते हैं, आप यूपी में जाओगे तो गाय का दूध ज्यादा यूज करते हैं. सो आपकी चाय का ब्लेंड भी हर शहर के लिए अलग होना चाहिए. सो अगर कोई अपने प्रोडक्ट को भी अगर इतना लोकलाइज, इतना रीजनलाइज कर रहा है, देन बीइंग अ कंटेंट कंपनी इट्स द बेयर मिनिमम यू हैव टू डू इफ you want to survive and if you want to grow.
And I think remote work also can play a great role there, because when you want to localize the content, you would want to hire people, local
Absolutely.
people.
My
And
Hindi writers are from Indore, from Bhopal, from places in Rajasthan. There's somebody from what's this place? I just forgot the name. Very small town near Udaipur. She edits Bhilwara. Yes,
Bhilwara.
sorry. Yeah, Bhilwara, and she edits the content for everyone, because बड़े शहरों में आपको हिंदी writers भी नहीं मिलते हैं. And I think a lot of media channels eventually start writing Hindi content. Don't start with Hindi is because हमारी खुद की हिंदी बहुत टूटी हुई है. तो ऐसे लोगों को मिलना जो हिंदी और रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में अच्छे हैं, वो भी थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. आई थिंक रिमोट वर्किंग, डेफिनेटली इफ वी डिडंट हैव अ रिमोट वर्किंग मॉडल इन प्लेस, देयर इज नो चांस दैट वी वुड हैव चाय पानी हिंदी. क्योंकि हमारे चाय पानी हिंदी happens all across the country. From all across the country, people contribute.
We'll wind up this episode with one last question for you.
Hmm.
As you were mentioning about that you had a lot of inhibitions about your own English command, right? तुमने जब बोला मुझे कि social media made me validate myself कि मेरी अंग्रेजी अच्छी है. And a lot of kids these days who are actually having good education. So I take my own example. When I went to Mumbai, I had a lot of inhibitions about my communication. कि भाई मैं अंग्रेजी नहीं कर, हमारे स्कूल में तो अंग्रेजी सिर्फ जब टीचर से बात करते थे तभी बोलते थे. यहाँ पे तो बच्चे कैंटीन में भी इंग्लिश में बात कर रहे हैं, यू नो. सो वो how should these kids approach that limitation in the language?
आई थिंक इन बच्चों को मतलब या तो हम जब छोटे हुआ करते थे, अगर हमको किसी ने बोल दिया होता कि इसका कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कि अगर आप हिंदी में बोल रहे हो, आज इतने बड़े बड़े एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं जो हिंदी में बात करते हैं, एकदम देसी हिंदी में बात करते हैं, एंड दे हैव बिल्ट द बिगेस्ट ऑफ द बिजनेसेस. सो आई थिंक अगर तब हमको किसी ने बोल दिया होता कि फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कि आप अगर हिंदी में बात कर रहे हो, इंग्लिश में बात कर रहे हो, टूटी फूटी हिंदी में बात कर रहे हो, गुजराती में बात कर रहे हो, it has no significance and it does not tell people कि आप you are smarter than the other person. So I think उनके लिए भी again like just accept the way you are. अगर आपको हिंदी आपकी अच्छी है, tell the other person to be to learn how to speak in Hindi. You know, I want to end this with one small example of this girl I interviewed from a place called देवरिया. यूपी में एक जगह है देवरिया करके, एंड आई मेट दिस गर्ल जो मैक्रम की चीजें बनाती थी और वो देवरिया से गोरखपुर बेचने जाती थी, बड़ा सा वो तगाड़ा लेके और उसमें उसकी चीजें लेके. शी यूज्ड टू गो एंड सेल इट इन द सिटी, एंड आई वांटेड टू इंटरव्यू हर, एंड शी वाज लाइक, हर फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट टू मी वाज दैट दीदी अगर आपको हमसे बात करनी है तो हिंदी में बात करिएगा वरना इंटरव्यू नहीं हो पाएगा. Like this was her confidence, and if she can tell me that no, you better talk in Hindi, I'm not talking in English. So I think वो एक confidence होना चाहिए where you start commanding what you want at a young age. And I hope हमको हमारे स्कूल ने और हमारे पेरेंट्स ने अगर ये स्टैंडर्ड्स नहीं सेट किए होते कि हमारी बेटी तो इंग्लिश बोलती है या speak in English only in the school. अगर ये सब नहीं सेट किया होता, I think things would have been different and we would not have so many of self-esteem issues that we had. एंड अगर आप अभी यंग हो और अगर अभी आपको जो भी लैंग्वेज आपको आती है, प्लीज कमांड फ्रॉम द अदर पर्सन टू लर्न योर लैंग्वेज, एंड रादर देन यू चेंजिंग योरसेल्फ फॉर somebody else.
Yeah, because at the end it's about clear communication.
Absolutely.
Language is just a tool to let you communicate with the other person.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Shruti, for joining us today. We had a lovely conversation with you.
Thanks, Shruti.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to both of you.
So this is Remote Explorers, where we talk about people who have used the platform of remote work to have immense differences in their own lives and the lives of their loved ones.
I'm sure you'll get a lot of inspiration and motivation from Shruti's story of moving from a small town to big city and then deciding to move to Goa. We'll have more such stories coming up, but every story is unique. So see you in the next episode.